Hello everyone, I am Augusto Argandoña. Welcome to my watercolor tutorial. This demonstration is about another one in my series of beach images. And this time I'm going to be doing one that has some rocks and some grasses and some trees and a nice little path walking down towards the beach. It's going to be a fairly simple configuration. Most of that will be happening here. The water will be here. I'm going to do some sky with some crisp clouds and some not too crisp and some fairly loose skies. And there will be some high contrasts and colors. So I'm going to just go ahead and start doing that. This time I'm going to be using a mop brush for some areas of the sky. There'll be some water like that in these areas, maybe a little bit over here, not too much towards the horizon. I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to bring in some ultramarine blue and a little bit of sepia, get some of the grays colors of the sky and the clouds, the bottoms of the clouds. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of that like this. Like I said, I was going to be some crisp and some kind of loose. Like that, I'm going to leave that alone. Maybe a little bit over here. Like that. Okay. Clean my brush. Now I'm bring in some cobalt blue with a little bit of that gray, kind of blend it a little bit more, and put a little bit of the cobalt blue over here. Do a little, vary the degree of white and gray tones. I'm going to blend that gray into the blue like that in that area. I'm getting a little bit of a blossom, but that's okay. It's part of watercolor painting. I'm also going to bring in some manganese blue with that cobalt blue, and add some over here, kind of blend it into that area, and bring it a little bit closer to the horizon. But like that. Get rid of those little specks. And that's pretty much it for the sky. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Maybe get rid of this. Kind of hard to get rid of it, but I'm going to just leave it like that. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to bring some water to the area where the land will be. I'm not going into that area where the sky is. I'm going to leave that alone. And right down to where the water meets the sand. So I'm going to leave that like that. And use my brushes again and bring the colors of the sand and a little bit of that coloration. I'm going to use some brown matter with a little bit of ultramarine. Not too much. Actually, I think I'm going to change that to cobalt blue. Get some of that gray. And let a few touches of that gray here. Like that. Bring it right down to the edge of the water. I'm going to change brushes to a smaller flat brush, and I'm going to bring in a little bit more of those colors, a little bit more intense right here. Like that. And also, I'm also going to bring in, while the paper is still damp, I'm going to bring some burnt umber and a little bit of sepia. And this is where some of the terrain will going to start changing. Do something like that. A little bit more of the sepia with the brown matter and ultramarine, and do a little few darker areas here, like that. Little variations in the terrain. I'm going to bring a little bit more of the sepia before the paper dries, and just barely touch the paper like that. With that, we'll bring some ultramarine with that sepia and give it a few touches there like that, and go down. We're going down over here where the rocks are going to be. There. Before that dries, I'm going to bring in some burnt sienna and add a little bit of the burnt sienna there. The burnt sienna has a really beautiful quality in that it tends to break darker pigments too. So we'll have some of those rocks really like that. And clean my brush and kind of blend this right into the sand. Like that. And before the paper dries, I'm going to take this little tool and create some shapes of rocks here. Like that. Same thing over here. There. Okay. So this is still kind of damp, so taking advantage of that, I'm gonna get some raw sienna with some of the green that I have here, and start doing some of the areas of the grasses. And there's the little path. I'm gonna leave it like that. Paint some of those grasses like that there. Get a little bit more of the raw sienna and cerulean blue, and bring those grasses right down to that little path. And now we come over here, come down here with it, and bring those grassy areas. Here, a little bit more of the cerulean blue, and right down to the beach. I'm going to bring more of the raw sienna and get some darker, a little darker effects of that, those bushes. Not bushes, but grasses. I'm going to put some over there too. There we go. And now I'm going to start changing the tone, go to ultramarine blue instead of the cerulean blue. I'm going to start darkening a few areas over here. Well, the paper is still kind of damp. Get more of the raw sienna. Maybe I'm going to change to raw amber, a different type of green. And taking advantage that the paper is still wet. Now, at this point, it's not wet, it's damp. So, do that. In fact, I'm going to bring some of that over here. They still, no, it's almost dry. I'll do that later. Do a few really just a little darker. Over here, we're going to start doing some of the details of the grasses coming onto that sand and that path. Same thing over here. And we'll bring some burnt umber into that mixture and darken some of those areas there. There's that nice path. There we are. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of dampen this area a little bit and bring those colors of the grasses to this area a little bit. Just give it a little bit of variety. Bring some of those grasses right down to the sand. There, that's enough. So now, while that's drying, I'm going to clean my brush really good. Change brushes to a smaller flat. And I'm going to get quite a bit of ultramarine. I'm also going to bring in some Payne's Gray into that ultramarine. And do the water. Very carefully use the edge of the brush. There we are. And now do the really dark blue. Leave some whites for the crests of the waves. Like that. I'm going to clean my brush somewhat and start bringing another color and start mixing with that. I'm going to leave some whites over there. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to get some water and put some water over here, and I'm going to get the foaminess of the water hitting those rocks like that. Bring over here, bring some of this blue. There we are. There. I'm getting more of that cobalt teal. And over here, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to get some water and do the foaminess where the water is breaking right onto the sand. There. That. And so now I'm going to get some of this brown matter and the blue. Bring the do the wet sand over here. There we are. See all that nice foaming, really beautiful. I'm gonna touch up that area later, but for now I'm gonna leave it like that. So now I'm gonna get the round brush and I'm gonna get the same colors. I'm gonna use, this time I'm gonna use the raw umber. Quite a bit of the raw umber. And before I do that, I'm going to add a little bit of water to this area. There will be some vegetation going there, some trees and so forth. So I'm going to bring the raw umber, a little bit of undersea green, and then I'm going to add some Payne's gray to that. And I'm going to bring it right into the really dark, right onto those areas where those grasses are, barely touching the paper, like this. My brush, get some brown matter. And mix those colors right there like that. Okay, now I'm going to bring a little bit more of the Payne's gray, this time with the brown matter, and do some, maybe some pine trees over here, or whatever, some trees like that. A little bit more of the Payne's gray. And I'm going to put a little bit of that over here too. There. Now, before the paper dries, I'll bring some sepia, mix into those colors, and I'm gonna bring the details, so bring that dark right into this, the grassy areas. Kind of give it a little bit of a edge there. Right to that path. And then I'm going to separate the bristles like this and bring those dark areas right into the grassy areas and create an edge for those grasses like that. Really nice. And then kind of blend those colors in like that. And that's pretty much it. The next little path. But before I do that and finish it, this area is kind of a little bit of a little damp still. So I'm going to, with my bristles separated like this, I'm going to add some grasses over here, right on the edge of that little path. Do some grasses over here. Not too much because we're not very close to there. It's kind of a distance. But still it's nice to do something like this, especially over here where we are closer. I'm going to vary some of this. There we are. I'm going to also darken that area where the trees meet the grasses. I'm going to bring in some more Payne's gray and darken this area. Get a little bit more water in my brush. There we go. There. Okay, so now I'm going to, with a thirsty brush, kind of barely touch the paper here. And get a little bit of that texture in there going. All right, that's pretty much it for this beach scene. Now, like I said earlier, I'm going to clean my brush really good, and with a thirsty brush, I'm going to do this a little bit more. I think I'm going to just leave it like that, but I'm going to add some strokes of the blue over here. Like that, there. Lastly, I'm going to take a little bit of this brown and give it this sand a little bit, just a little bit of texture, not too much, like that. I'm going to just leave it like that there. But see how that view of the sky came out really good. I'm going to get some of this gray color that I have in my palette and do some seagulls that are always present. There. I don't want to get too elaborated with that, but that's just enough. So now this is dry, yeah. So we'll do the last thing here is my signature. There we are. And that's it for this rocky area and the nice little path coming down to the beach. So I'm going to remove this tape, and so you will get to see how this looks. That sky is looking really, really nice. This scene could be anywhere on the Atlantic coast, probably New England. It's the only area where they have rocky outcrops like that close to the water. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some of the areas around the Northeast. Okay, so put this back. And I'm going to change the background so you'll see how this looks. And there it is. So now I'm gonna minimize this a little bit so you can see. There. A little path to the beach. Thank you for watching my demonstration. I hope you enjoyed my painting. Until next time.